All right, it's great to have you. Welcome to the program. Thanks to Joe Pag Show. Great radio stations all over. Newsmax TV as well. Pleasure to have on the line right now. It is Kellyanne Conway, former campaign chief and now a top strategist and advisor for Donald Trump, the president-elect of the United States. Kellyanne, how are you?
I am fabulous. Thank you for having me.
You know, I love having you on. I hope you remember this. About 8 or 9 years ago, I was the primary fill-in for Glenn Beck on TV and radio, and I filled in for him on Headline News, and you were one of the people we went to every night. I love your knowledge. I love how hard you work at this, and I for a while, didn't have to say a word. We just let you go. I mean, we were like, hey, all right, Kellyanne, what are you thinking? And you would just go and go and go, and I think our ratings were the highest we ever had when you were on. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, you know,
Glad to reconnect.
It's wonderful to reconnect. You probably have never been this busy in your life, have you?
It certainly feels that way, but it's a good busy. I was telling Ivanka Trump today that it still feels like we're trying to win Michigan and Pennsylvania down here.
Isn't it nuts?
But we did win Michigan and Pennsylvania and a whole lot more. It's nuts, but it's nuts in the best way. I mean, we have the highest energy guy ever in the history of president-elects, believe me. He doesn't sleep. He works all the time. He's thinking all the time, and he's met with over 85, I think now 90 men and women from across this country and who want to help, who want to offer their advice and counsel, and some of whom will end up in his cabinet or senior positions in his administration, but all of whom love the country and want to add their experiences, their vision, and their help to the effort. In addition to that, he's probably talked about 55 or more world leaders meeting with tech industry giants tomorrow, folks who certainly opposed him monetarily and culturally and electorally. But as he promised on election night, or I should say in those wee hours of November 9th on that Wednesday, Joe, he will be the president of all Americans, even if not especially those who opposed him.
Is he purposely, and is Kellyanne Conway top advisor to President-elect Donald Trump? What is your actual title right now? I don't want to just say that if it's wrong. Do you have one?
Yes, I'm senior advisor to the transition.
Senior advisor, okay.
That's right, senior advisor to the transition, which essentially means I come to work every day in Trump Tower and try to help any way I can support the president-elect and the vice president-elect's efforts to form their government and to certainly try to get their message out. And you know, there are many, many things to do here. It's in short order. I'm sure other administrations have felt exactly the same way.
I talked to Mr. Trump 6 times before the election. I talked to his son many, many times, Eric. They were supremely confident going in. Brad Parscale, who's a friend of mine, listens to my show here in San Antonio, was very confident going in. How did you feel on election day? I mean, did you get the willies at all when you started hearing this fake news report about exit polling saying that Hillary Clinton was way out ahead, or were you supremely confident as well?
No, we were confident by then. We had been confident for a couple of weeks. It's no mystery how I felt about the election. I was on TV every day talking about it, so you can roll the tape. People just ignored us. I was met with anything from derision to just a polite, we all love Kellyanne, she works hard, but they're dead wrong. They can't win. The path is closed. There is no path. They'll take down the whole House and Senate with them, never work in this town again. But we just had a different set of analytics here, and we had a certain calmness and methodical planning and plotting and execution. And I think also, Joe, spending half the money that Hillary Clinton did made us gritty and scrappy and entrepreneurial and resourceful and creative, going in for that extra $10 million ad buy toward the end and deploying it strategically in states where then we also had our 2 major assets, Mike Pence and Donald Trump, doing personal visits. So what we were doing wasn't a real mystery. The cues and clues were in front of everybody the whole time.
Right.
So most just sought to ignore them. And it was basically a week before the Comey letter that we saw the polls tightening in some of these swing states, in part because Hillary Clinton had no message. There was no affirmative economic message for the forgotten man and forgotten woman that Donald Trump was reaching out to. That's very clear. I'm giving an award for anybody who can tell me what Hillary Clinton's message actually was, outside of I'm not Donald Trump, and he takes the wings off of butterflies. Those are not messages. And secondly, we saw that she had this nagging 47% problem of her own. She just could not bust through 44, 46, 47% in any of these swing states that Barack Obama had carried twice with well over 50% of the vote and became a 2-term president. So we saw many things going our way. Also, Donald Trump and Mike Pence started talking more about Obamacare and how they would repeal and replace it with something more free market, more patient-centric, and more specific about those solutions. That came at a time when people were firing up their computers and opening up their mailboxes and finding out that their premiums had increased.
Right, by a lot.
So it really, by a lot. So it's pretty remarkable, the convergence of events and the discipline, frankly, as a messenger and just as a traveler, as somebody willing to go to 4 or 5 and then 7 states a day. Truly remarkable. I mean, you have to have a candidate who's willing to be a game day player, is willing to go out there with the people, take his message, and cut through the noise or the silence, and that's what he did.
It's Kellyanne Conway, senior advisor to the Trump transition. All right, Rex Tillerson. Who is this guy? Well, we know who he is. We know what he's run, and he's an amazing businessman. But who is he, and why is it that even Fox News is putting up a color graphic, Kellyanne, on the screen that says direct connections and ties to Putin? What is this fixation with Russia, and what is the deal? What is the relationship between Rex Tillerson and Russia, if any?
Rex Tillerson has been at ExxonMobil for 41 years.
Wow.
He's been most recently the CEO. Obviously, oil men go where the oil is. That includes China, Russia, the Middle East, Yemen, developing countries. He's dealt with over 50 countries across our globe. So, of course, as somebody who's developing energy resources, he has had some dealings with Vladimir Putin. He's had some dealings with China. And it's not as if they're godparents to each other's children.
Right.
He's a businessman negotiating business deals and employing 70,000 people across the globe. He's in charge of a company that has a $320 billion market cap. He'll be in charge of a State Department budget that has about a $66 billion price tag. And I'd imagine our new Secretary of State will not be using his department as a concierge for foreign governments to come and give money, and so the $66 billion is probably a pretty dynamic, static number. This is just someone who is a Trumpian kind of pick, if you will. He's somebody, Donald Trump told me just today that when he met Rex Tillerson, he saw him as just somebody who was incredibly experienced. They clicked as fellow successful businessmen, and he thinks he brings an entire different dimension. What people want to dismiss as a liability is actually an asset, the ability to go and advance U.S. interests, our sovereignty, our security, and our strength around the globe. Implementing the Trump doctrine, which, of course, is an American first doctrine around the globe, and that's what the Secretary of State will do.
I'm almost out of time, and I really appreciate you taking the time. Give me about a 15-second answer if you can. Why don't you want to roll in the administration, or are you still open to that?
No, I haven't said that. I've just said that it's a decision I'm trying to make based on my personal and professional considerations. Okay. Look, my husband's very supportive, and the president-elect is very supportive of whatever my decision is. Donald Trump has elevated women in his corporation, in his campaign, and now his cabinet to very high positions. It's just a matter of what works best for our family, including 4 school-age children, and we'll decide in due course. So.
Fabulous job. I'm really super proud of you. Thanks for coming on, Kellyanne. We'll talk again soon. We appreciate Kellyanne. Stay here.